Hello. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. Welcome back to the Shark Stream. Let me clear my throat so I don't sound like a frog in a swamp. Hopefully you're all doing well. Hopefully you've had a good couple of days, or if you were there yesterday, obviously, we had the quiz night. Hopefully you had a good sleep, good morning so far. I'm doing a stream a bit earlier. We're trying to optimize, we're trying to shed dead weight. We're trying to get it to the right time. We're trying to get it to the right places. And from some inside sources, apparently 2 p.m. our time was the good time to stream. So we're trying it earlier. So this might be the worst idea we've ever done, and we can go right back to doing normal time, normalish time, or maybe this is the best thing we're ever going to do. Anyways, I'm pretty happy with the markets. I kind of like to give my opinions before going into it. Also, I should say, I'm being professional today. There's going to be no wafflies or anything. There's going to be no me saying random words and not making any sense. It's going to be coherent. It's going to be it's going to make sense. Hopefully, I'm trying to think of good descriptors of my linguistics. It's going to make sense. Okay, I'm going to make sure I'm slow and concise. Let's start the timer. Otherwise, I'm going to be speaking for the rest of the day, and I'll never end. But good evening to all of you on a certain place and Binance Square. I can see Tariq in chat. Again, I would not expect that many people to be here. Or hope people will come and it be a more popular stream than other streams, due to the fact that we are hopefully streaming in a period where most people are online. But obviously, I would expect on a certain other platform that there'll to be that many people, as it is a time we've never really streamed at before, or consistently streamed at before, for me anyway. But I can see Tariq and Jen in the chat, so thank you guys for joining. Appreciate you guys being here. I need to make sure my mouth stays close to this mic so that it picks up properly. Obviously, on Binance Square as well. Good evening to you on Binance Square. Let me scroll up. Queen, good afternoon, good morning maybe, depending on what time zone you're in. Hello to you. Aquarius, Reese is here. Asif, Aicha, I see you. Actually, let me see this. Can I ask you? Yeah, you can ask whatever you want. My answer might not be the answer I want to give. Yesterday I've been second, but where's my reward? Were you second yesterday? I don't think you were second yesterday. I don't know. Were you? Oh, was it Reese second? But if you were, then obviously yes. As Mike stated in the stream, you will get your reward. We have you recorded. You won't get it immediately within the afternoon, because it takes time for him to actually go out of his way to actually send each and every gift, or each and every reward, I should say, actually, because obviously you've actually done something to get it by playing the quiz. So you will get it, as Mike has already said in the chat, you'll get it eventually. Anyways, dilly-dallying over. Coin Glass, 24 hours, 188 total liquidations. Normal, not even going to bother. Normal, whatever. Economic calendar, nothing going on. Nothing going on really. The only thing we can think of is you know, a bomb getting sent somewhere, maybe that could not help. So I'm going to be very positive on this stream. I've obviously gone through the charts, kind of a little a gander, you know, a little glance at all the charts I'm going to talk about today, so to make sure, you know, I know kind of what I'm feeling about before going into it. And I think I'm pretty positive of the current price action we've done since last stream. We've not really done too much, but the perceived outcome of what could potentially happen over the period of right now till whenever it may be, I do think we will go up eventually. I think Mike's been saying the same sort of things on his streams, so I'm going to be pretty positive. Again, things with positivity. If someone blows someone else up, that will be negative, and the prices across the market will go down. So we don't want Trumpy Trump to do anything bad, you know, Israel in disguise, am I right? APAC and all that. So we don't want them to do anything that bad. We don't want any bombs anywhere, please. We don't want prices to go down. Let's just be calm. Let's let things go up eventually. Throw the bombs at people later on, all right? Get it down the line. Let's get some recovery in the charts so then we can gracefully fall again. You know? That's what I would want, personally. Yeah. Hello to... FZ, that's what I'm going to say your name as. Hello to you as well. Thank you for joining the stream. So, coin market cap, what are we doing? Let's see. 66254. Again, we're pretty much not moving. We've not really done much since last stream. Again, I will go over the charts and the probably lower time frame price action because it's not been super long since I have left it. Because again, we've been in the same area for ages now. I like to do streams. I know I should do a stream every other day. I should keep it consistent, but I do the same coins every time. If I'm Frankie Candles and I'm doing every chart under the sun, yeah, I can do a stream every day or every 2 days. I only do a select few coins. I do the main three, and then maybe Syrup or I'm going to do World of Finance today. So I don't want to be doing a stream every 2 seconds because since last stream and now we've not really done anything. So I'm just going to say the same thing I said last stream. So you could go for 40 minutes, go get yourself some food, go for a walk or whatever, go for a drink, and then come back for World of Defiance, because I'm going to probably say the exact same things I was saying last stream anyway. So, yeah, but for the people obviously who are new to the stream or forgotten, I will go over again what we're doing. So, obviously, yeah. But 6250, about a 1.7% move down on the 24-hour, 2.1 on the 7 days. So, yes, we have moved. We've done a little... dilly-dally, but we've really not moved. We're in our 1 hour range. If you have looked at my streams previously, you remember the 1 hour we had the red area above, the green below. We are in that same range. We came down to the green area and then we went back up to the red area. That's literally all we've done. We've stayed in the range. So eventually we're going to hopefully go upwards and get out of the range, but until then we are here. 1934 for Ethereum. Again, I'm pretty sure across the board we've just literally stayed in this range or respective ranges of different coins. So again, Ethereum 2.4 24-hour percentage downwards, 2.1 on the 7 days. So again, pretty similar percentages there. Not really too much price change over the course of however long it's been since last stream, or the exact days. Solana about $80.5 here, 3.1% down on the 24-hour, 0.68 on the 7 day. I haven't really looked at Solana too much. I haven't really glanced because there's a little bug when I go to the day, anything lower than the daily or anything lower than the weekly, the ranges bug out, and I need to draw them manually, and I can't bother, and I don't want to do that live on stream, so I just have to look at it on the weekly. So I haven't really looked at Solana as opposed to everything else on our list today. As you can see on the right hand side of the screen, I've got very high tech. This is the highest tech. You will not find any higher tech than we have right now on this stream anywhere in the crypto space. I can almost guarantee it. This is the highest tech. We have the highest tech. I feel like Trump. We are the greatest. We have the highest tech. I'm going to do the thing with my fingers here as well. You've got the sidebar. It's interactive. Got the time and all that sort of stuff. It's the highest tech in the world. And you can see on the right hand side, you can see what coins we have going on and the order I'm going to be covering them in. So yeah, you can see we've got Syrup later on as well. Again, I'm just going to say the same thing I've been saying in the past. Worst part about Syrup as well, it's not only the stuff I've been saying the last stream or the stream before, it's what I've been saying over the course of like a few months or a few weeks at least. I don't know exactly the exact numbers. And obviously World of Finance I'm going to be covering as a new coin to cover on the stream, because again we're within the talks of World of Finance. We're kind of rubbing shoulders with these people, so I'm going to like to talk about them, and we can clip it and whatnot. Anyways, syrup. Actually, I don't know if I can be bothered. I'm 10 minutes into the stream. I haven't actually got a single chart yet, so I should probably pick the pace up. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Going into Bitcoin now. Let me drink some water to make sure I don't, I want to make sure my voice comes across as good as possible. So we'll make sure I'm limbered up. Apologies to the people who are within the religious certain religious events which may occur a restriction on consumption, and some people don't like seeing things when they are during this period of time. I do apologise. I'm not within that religious realm myself, but I respect you guys. Weekly, we are at again 66370 from 66250. Same area. You can see I had this blue area drawn ages ago. We had this green and red area drawn ages ago, and you might be able to tell within the last. We haven't even moved higher or lower than last week's price, low to high anyway. So I think the end of last week's candle was at the high point, or it came up to the high point, or we came off the high point, and we've taken this period between the transition from last week to this week, coming down towards this green area about 6. I've got a block nose or something somewhere, and it's affecting my words. Let me just take it easy. So we haven't moved, as you can see. We've not really done much on the weekly. Coming from a period where we came from 93k all the way down to a low of 60k, and obviously in this period. So we've got a lot of stuff here. And again, a lot of these periods we see these massive moves downwards, and then we want some form of a recovery. We want some form of a relief, move back upwards. I think Mike's been talking about. I'm obviously talking about. I've been talking about on previous streams, and I'm talking about today, obviously as well. With the at least 80k areas, we've got 82s. We've got certain areas above us. I think I just have a line. I don't have any line drawn. 89, I don't think is. I think it's the midpoint of this gap, but I thought I had a line drawn somewhere. It's probably just about 82.5 to at least 80,600 was what I was saying last stream and all the other streams. In terms of major lows, obviously we've got certain lows at 48 or whatever. We'll talk about that a later day because we're not even moving right now. We're concerning ourselves with what we're doing right now, or potentially the next move we're doing some point now, which is going to be that move towards 82, 81.5, whatever it might be for Bitcoin. But I'm not going to spend too much time on the weekly because we've not really done too much. The only thing I'll re-point out again is what this blue area is and why we're here. I just realized I have this shifted, which is not a great help for us to talk about. There we go. So this is a rejection block. So basically, that midpoint area might be a good area. I know some people do the 25% and the 75%, quadrants. I don't do that. Maybe it's something I should do, whatever. But I just do the midpoint, just simple, which is about 65.1, which is within that range of the green area, which obviously we came to. Let's just zoom down so we can talk about it. Let's go to daily. Let's see. So as we can see, daily, it's kind of the same story. We've just been in between, this red area and this green area. We've kind of just been, doing our thing in between this area, which is, I would have hoped we would have, came up to it, came down, and then, broke upwards. Just speed it up a bit, you know what I mean? Just come on then. Let's, get it going. Timer box or no, that timer is not for a box, it is for the rest of the stream. Because I know there's some people on Barton Square who they didn't really do anything about crypto. They just post boxes, which is fine for them. It's not what we do. We do post red boxes, but if you're here just to farm, there's probably someone better streaming right now. You can go follow to do that. We're just talking about the charts here. So if you care about the charts and are interested in an opinion of me, not a financial advice stream, it is an opinion, then obviously stick along. So again, daily, don't care. 1 hour. Let's just go to the 1 hour. I do want to. I don't know. I've just drawn a little splodge there. I do want to go down a range just so we can actually see it in the detail we need to. So this is kind of the view we've seen, and now it's gotten a bit stretched outwards because again we've spent quite a lot of time. But you can see the period even in between Thursday time last week, so a week ago, which is probably when I last streamed. I don't think I streamed on the weekend or any of these periods, or maybe I did the weekend. I don't think I did. I didn't do Saturday. I didn't do Saturday because I was there and all that. I think I did the last stream before, which would have been a bit about Thursday, which would have been within the support here. Which again, you can see this blue line is the rejection block, so we can see across the move, which would have lasted the week. We see the low at that rejection block, which obviously we can see on this weekly candle with that low there. So we can see, we've been respecting it on all time frames, whether it be this low area we have or the rejection block, which is the high end of it is this whole area here. This is the support range. So anything in here, and again, this is the weekly. We're talking on the 1 hour here for a weekly support point. So even if we were to come down towards 63 and go back upwards, it's not that concerning, because what relates to a weekly support point will be the weekly time frame. That is the importance there. You can still use supports on the daily, for example, and use them on the 1 hour as a point of interest. Go, okay, cool. This is a respected area, which I can understand as a potential support point or a potential area where we stop going down. This might not have pinpoint accuracy because we're looking at on the 15-minute or the 1 hour. This is an area where we should, in theory, have multiple time frames respecting this as a stopping point to go upwards. You just want to give yourself as much chance as possible to actually get something right when you're, obviously trading. Unless you buy a meme coin and it goes up 10 gazillion, bazillion, million, percent, and then obviously you've made no money because guess what? There's no liquidity. Anyways, what do we have then? Pretty much since this high. So obviously we came up again from the support. I was hoping we'd come upwards and do our thing. Whatever, fine. We're doing perfectly fine. We're in support and resistance. This is our areas. We have the high, we have the low. We're doing fine. And obviously we're at this midpoint area. So we came upwards. We can see we came up to the high of this equilibrium. We can see we found support at the actual equilibrium line. Then we came up to the outer rim of it, and then found support at the equilibrium, and then came up to our actual resistance before coming down. And then using this resistance, we tried to rally one more time, but guess what? We had a gap over here, which we used, came down, printed past equilibrium, used it. We're in this kind of range of support resistance here, and then eventually broke down one more time, and now we're using the outside. So again, we're coming down. We haven't printed past any high, so I can still expect from what we have in terms of our move we have right now, there's not really much of support in this previous internal area. We have resistance in this gap area, and we had this order block here as well. You can see we kind of have this area which kind of came above some highs, the gap here as well. And when we print through it in this candle, you can see we use this candle as resistance at the midpoint of the area here. You can see the midpoint's right about there. We can see we used it there. So we have some resistance at 67,191. So basically, just the idea that we're continuing this kind of downtrend on the way downwards, using this resistance. We didn't form anywhere near a high, so the idea is we should probably continue using this low. So we could probably get towards at least another low at 65, let's say 65.6. So again, I don't really care exactly how we're doing on the way downwards, exactly where we're going to stop, whether it be 65.6, 65.1, even as low as 65 on the dot. In terms of the only other areas of support I could see, it's going to be previous price action over here. So we can see a lot of these, inverted gaps, for example, the midpoint around about there. Actually, I should probably just draw a rectangle to make it easier for everybody. There we go. So you can see, we have this gap, which we used down here. But again, we're at a long-term point of support. So we reversed it and then came upwards, used it as support. Kind of filled the entire thing. We used it as support, but we came back up to resistance, and then obviously printed through it. So we'll probably continue past this. So then within that, it's like, okay, cool. What do we want to look at next? It's going to be the next area of potential support, which is probably going to be somewhat in between, or somewhat within something like this down close candle here. I think I'm just doing the wrong thing. There we go. Be something within there probably, which you can see was kind of like the next leg down. We can see we had a gap area. We used it for that low, came up with resistance. Next low was within the high of this support here. We probably have that midpoint, which just so happens to be the midpoint of this previous support as well. So a bit more confluence there as a multitude of support areas. So for what it looks like on the 1 hour, we are still coming downwards. We're still continuing this trend downwards, especially for the fact that we've printed through this gap and then still reversed. Even though we technically did print above, we have obviously equilibrium and then this outer area here. So you can see a lot of the times we have resistance at the top end, or support at the bottom end, or vice versa, or again resistance on the outer areas of both of these. So from there we can see kind of came to this line here and used it as a bit of resistance and then continue back downwards. So we're most likely going to be using this area as resistance again, or not using it as support and continuing downwards one more time towards something at 65, 65.6, somewhere within that price. So basic, just price. Also, we actually had the midline of this range, which is this dotted line here, which I actually can't see because it's on a blue background and it's white on white. I probably should change these because you actually can't see. It's like it's a slight grey. I should probably change this. I don't know how. Or I can't remember what. It's probably. Let's just do black. Is it really ugly if we do black? It's not that bad actually. Seeable. So we can see that dotted line as well is kind of the same general area. Within about $100, $90, $80 off that low. So something there as well, I suppose. Nonetheless, though, we're still continuing downwards. We're still printing. Our moves downwards are more excessive than our moves upwards, as we can kind of see. Massive expansion. We did have quite a big move here, to be fair, we'll not lie. But a lot of these moves downwards, we can kind of see by how expansive we are on the way down, especially with this candle, these candles here, this candle, these candles. And then a lot of our moves upwards aren't really that expansive relative to the move down we had. So we're still trending downwards. We haven't printed past any highs. We're still coming downwards. I will expect a low past at least 65.8. Obviously, if we were to look for an equilibrium, we are well past that there for this order block. So we're doing perfectly fine. So I don't think we're reversing right now, right here. I think we're in the area to do so. Again, we are in weekly support. We are in a 4-hour-ish, 1-hour-ish support with this green area, which we've been kind of bouncing in between this red one and this green one. I do want to see a move upwards. Again, like I said, a lot of this stream is going to be me looking over things we've already looked at and talking about things we've already talked about. There's not really been too much change since last stream. All we did was go back up to the red area and come back down to the green area. That's literally all we did. We haven't done a single new thing in price action since last stream. And I streamed quite a while ago. So I'm just going to say the same thing. And it's going to be really boring for a lot of the stream until we hit about syrup. I mean, no, syrup's going to be the same thing as well. Until we hit World Liquidity Finance or financial. Financial. I'm going to say the same thing. Every single coin, pretty much. Because, again, there's not really been that much change. So, yeah. Oh, I have a comment. I'm going to go to... I've kind of nearly finished up on Bitcoin here. Again, reiterating the same point. Find support somewhere here. We're at the low end. We're probably going to come towards this area up here. I'm going to read the chat though, because apparently there was a comment on Binance Square, which I'm going to go check. Let's see. Where was I? Timer. Okay, the timer is not a box. Yeah, it is. Salve. Please explain the validity of support in a logical manner. Okay, so there's a few different things. I'll just go back to the 1 hour and talk about these ones. So there's my reasoning. Again, this is not financial advice, but, it's all about percentages. It's all about likely chances of something being right versus wrong. I won't speak too fast. I'll try and be slow because, again, I know I can speak too fast sometimes, and it's just like it won't make sense to non-native English speakers. Even people who don't have English, even Americans sometimes don't understand me. You know what I mean? So basically, what the green and red area is, I'll explain these ones. So we have these ranges, right? And we have these little labels on the right, which is, it's an idea, it's a concept of, okay, within the relative price. So, for example, we have a low area down here, same as we have on every other range. If we go upwards, for example, to the weekly, we have the same story here, where we have a high area, a low area, and a midpoint, an equilibrium, right? So anything on a basis level, within a range, if you were to stay just within a range, anything above the equilibrium is going to be somewhere you want to come down from, and you don't want to look for more longs, you want to look for sell. Obviously, that's not what we want to look for here, but it's still a concept of what a high or low equilibrium is. Premium discount, if you've ever heard that, premium discount, it's anything above the equilibrium is you want to look for sells, anything below you want to look for buys. And that makes sense depending on what range you are on. But the way I use them, going back down to 1 hour now, is like so. So we have these labels, going back to it here, which kind of, it's not a guarantee. Nothing's ever a guarantee in charts. But it's kind of a cursor to say, okay, relative to where we are, relative to this high at 78.7 and the low towards 59049, we have certain areas where things are more likely to occur than others. And it's kind of just, it kind of cleans the chart. It obviously makes the chart messy because we have all these lines, but it cleans it up in the sense that we don't just draw random things randomly and hope the best. We try to make sense of what we're seeing based on positionally where we are. So for example, we are at this equilibrium, so we know we have these different lines of support. And you're more than valid to use each and every one of these blue and red and yellow lines as a support resistance, because that can work decently well, majoritively. Again, I've gone through this on some weekly time frames. You know, we kind of stopped at this line, we came up, you know, support at this blue line. We didn't use these. So again, this is why I don't just use them as support resistance, because not every single time there's support resistance. But you know, we kind of stop at this blue area, kind of came to here, use this red as support, came upwards. So it kind of comes on and off. But the way I use them is with these labels, right? So what this red area is this is a resistance, for example. So over here, we have these two green candles going up into this little gap here, and then we print lower. So these two, I'm not going to explain why or whatever, because again, there's people, you can go watch YouTube videos on this. You know, this isn't my thing or anything like that. It's just a concept. But for example, the validity of this one, you can never really confirm the validity. How is there's never a binary thing in charts. There's never a binary thing we can just read and go, oh, this will work and this won't work. So the validity of it is the usage of it. And, you know, we can scroll and look at every time we've come to, especially over here where we mainly use resistance, you know, especially over here, especially down here. You know, when did we ever really print more than getting above here? Now, yes, we did have a high above here, but what matters is where we print at. So you can see multiple times over using this range as resistance, you know, every time here, here. So coming up into this area and finding support, whether it be within gaps here, for example, or whether that be, again, probably in another gap actually here. Wherever the support may be didn't concern me. It was the idea that we had this range at that support. And it's the same concept here. We have these green candles and we print through this individual one here, but we reverted it, which is what a breaker block is when you invert that print. So we have this green candle up, we have this print through here from that low, and then we come upwards. And we didn't really use its support, we just kind of came right through, which is fine. But obviously we can come back to where we are here, and we can see we used it as a support area. We came towards basically the midpoint. Here we came into it at about the midpoint, and then came right back off it, coming right back up to the red area before coming right back down to the green area. So again, like I said, it's been a very boring chart since last stream because we've just been within this range. So in terms of why I have these drawn, that is why. Those are the individual candles, and using these ranges on these labels. You know, for example, what an FV means is a fair value gap. So I would be looking to see for gaps in that. So for example, we have a gap here. We have this range here, for example. So this whole range, we had a gap, for example. If I draw that there. So we can see we had this gap on the way downwards. We've kind of come up back into this range, and we came back down. So it's kind of that sort of concept. I mean, from here, we probably would want to look for a range, and you would see, okay, cool, we have high up into here, and we have this gap. So I could probably draw the liquidity void, which just so happens to be within the lower end here as well, which is where we came down to within this move. So we can see this whole move, what liquidity void is, instead of it just being an individual candle, it's actually the lows of the two green candles. So it's this candle and everything in between. So this whole gap area is the liquidity void. And we can see we used the entire thing for this move back upwards and then came back down again. So again, nothing's ever perfect, but that's kind of the concept of what the labels mean. So that's why we have these lows. I'm not going to yap on more about it though, to be fair, because, you know, I'm spending a lot of time on Bitcoin. So let's go back to the weekly and then we can move on. So going back to the weekly again, just to finalize the charts before we move on to everything else. We have the weekly rejection block. Again, why is it rejection block? Well, we have this RB label here, which is a massive, basically it's where you have a massive wick and then a smaller candle body, and it's kind of you come into an area and you respond right off it. You know what I mean? So we've kind of had this massive expansion downwards, came into this area and just came right back up towards, 70. So the difference between 70,000 and 60,000, it's a very big 17% wick, for example. And the rejection block is, okay, if there's a wick which comes into this range, this should be the rejection block. So I know it spans across the order block and the fair value gap area, but this is a rejection block. And obviously we can see on the weekly, relative to the scale, we have come to that midpoint in this candle I can't really draw it because it's a single thing, but this is the midpoint here, so we can see that low came to that midpoint, which is obviously the whole 1 hour, the whole period we've come up and come down again. That's all added up to allow us to come into that low at 65,138 at this weekly time frame. So it's, you know, it's the same thing. So again, we came back up to the red area from the green area. We've come right back down to the green. I would expect the same area on this weekly candle. If we can have 2 candles which print at this area, you know, we've come down rejection block, 2 lows here, wick past these lows to maybe 64 or 64.5, and then reverse would be quite cool. And again, from there, at least into 80,900 within this purple area. We have this massive gap here, which also we don't have the labels here. Where's the labels? Here it is. So we have liquidity void. I have no green candle, to be fair, but I would imagine if we had a green candle print somewhere within here, we have a midpoint at least about 79,000. So anywhere in this range is valid. But again, just to highlight the gap here, we have 86 to 79 here with this main gap. So it's kind of the concept of what we have. But the main thing being, we also have, the reason we have this purple area is because it's mitigation block, because we have a low, a high, and then we have another low here. So we kind of have this like move here. This whole period here is going to be that range. So especially that midpoint at 89. But I don't care exactly at 89. I want to look at least coming into it. It's more of a range rather than an exact pinpoint price. And it also overlaps this gap here. You know, so it's kind of just all looking at this one area where this low is, this gap, and this low at 80,000, 81,000 basically. But that's pretty much it. Again, like I said, there's not really much to look at in relation to Bitcoin because it's not really done too much. So I'm just going to go to Ethereum. So pretty much same story here. I think I'm on something like this range. Oh no, on the weekly I'm probably on the higher range, to be fair. Here we go. This makes more sense. Perfect. Yeah, so we've looked at this previously. We've looked at the equilibrium. We've looked at how we've been doing up and down all these different ranges. We've obviously come below equilibrium. We had this whole period where we couldn't really get past this area here, then printed through the equilibrium, came back up into it, and then obviously printed through the whole thing. So again, the idea is at least this area at 2,690 is going to be resistance for sure. So the idea that we're probably going to want an expansion back upwards. We're clearly in a downtrend. We've had a multitude of candles downwards until we've hit into, you know, support area. For example, we have this gap back here. We've come into a support area, and you can see it's very kind of, it really lays itself out because we have all these massive expansionary candles, and then the final period where we're kind of stopping, we can see we're really not moving. We haven't printed past this 1900 area once. So then you can see these candle boys get smaller and smaller, and then obviously the idea is we're going to want to see a stopping point. Kind of the same concept here. You know, we have these pretty expansive candles on the way downwards, and then we get to the position where we stop. We can see very small candles, and then we have these 2 candles here which just don't really move. So I could expect the same story here. We have these massive candles, might have a small little green candle which is like, you know, the size of a little pea, and then we go back upwards again. All to say the same thing, which is, okay, we have this gap here, for example, which is very similar to how we have on Bitcoin. We have this mitigation block being the low to the high. We obviously are within equilibrium at 2,690, you know, 3,000-ish for this area. We probably want to see a little retracement into this area, you know, at least 2,650, I would want to say. So it's the same thing we have on the weekly, you know. So not convinced. Still believe in divination. Divination? Because it's not influenced by influences. How do you say? Is that divine? Like as in divine? Like as in you pray to God and He's told you where the price is going to go, or is that divination? Like kind of like divide. So. Hey, speak away. Tell us in the chat, please. You know, why am I wrong and you're right? I would love to hear it. And then from there, again, I'm just probably going to go to lower time frames. Probably within the 1 hour to see where we are actually doing here. I think this one's probably just about here. Yeah. Let's do the 4 hour because I can't really see. Even though a lot of this TA was drawn the 1 hour, I'm going to do the 4 hour because we can actually see it. So same concept here. We are this is very important actually. Very important because we talked about this a bit ago, probably last stream, stream before at this rate. And what it was we have a very important line at the 0.11. So we have this, you can see it, the 0.11 or 1.11, depending on what range you're in, whatever it may be, which is, if we print past this, that's not a good sign. Now, if you want proof, oh, I don't believe you, I want proof. Let's go back to the weekly. Let's have a look. I actually don't really know what's on these ranges. I don't know if we have any highs or lows near this, to be fair. I'm not going to lie. But we've seen it on Bitcoin plenty of times. I'll probably go to the weekly. Let's see what we have. So, let's see. Okay, I need to expand this upwards because we can't actually see it. That's why it looks weird. Perfect. I think perfect, actually. I'm trying to find... do we have anything? I don't know if we have any periods where we have this. We can have it here, for example. I mean, this kind of works for the concept. I think this range might be a bit too small for the weekly, but it's the same concept. Basically, it's this line, and then it's this line. Right. Now, the idea is, if we see a print past this area and a continuation, and we print past this area, either use it resistance or we use the low. So basically, using this. So if we were to print past this, let's just say to 5,000, and then came back to 4,600, use its support, that would be a plus sign. Or, came past it to 4,700 and then printed at 4,370. That's also a plus sign. Now, it's more about where we print relative or in relation to 4,621. However, there's always confluence. Again, nothing's ever perfect. You can see kind of down here. Oh, well, technically we did print past the low. You know what I mean? This is why I add a bit more to it, because the base concept is, okay, cool. If you print past 4,611, you will guarantee to come into the new range. It's not like that. And we can see this because we have these areas where we print past it and we don't. It's because we either want to come past it and use its support, or print past it, use the low, or in this case, would be a low for the next range upwards as support before we go upwards. So it's the idea that, okay, why are we in this range and not in this range, for example? Or when do we get into this range down here between 2 and 0? Why are we not in these ranges? Well, obviously this is obviously why. So same concept here. This is obviously what it is. We can see and this is obviously you have to take it with a grain of salt. So for example, with this one, we can see we printed past this line here, and we just came to the equilibrium. That's kind of, it's kind of a good indicator that we've not just kind of whipped past it and come back upwards. We've just expanded past it. Now, if we go to the daily and whatnot, we probably might see us print past this area and then find resistance, So let's go back to it. Where are we? I think it's this one over here. Yeah, so this is kind of a similar concept. So you can see, we came past the high. We can see we printed at this low. We used it, as a support area technically. We didn't print past it yet. We came upwards. We had a little bit of a gap here, so we didn't really quite get anywhere higher than this gap. Continuing back downwards. We then printed past it here. We'll go to the 4 hour here as well, actually, to see a bit more detail. Where are we? There it is. So you can see this whole period, we kind of are staying on this area. Now, this is very similar to what we had here, where we did print past low it, and then this is the cursor here. So like I said, where you want to print past it and then use the low as support, or you print past it and then use it as resistance, or in this case you print at it and then use this as resistance. It's all within the same field. So this is exactly what we did on the 4 hour, where we came down, we printed past it, and then we can see we used the high as resistance pretty much every time. And then we saw a bit of resistance here with this green candle upwards and then print through here. Well, actually, it's the same concept with all of these. We had this green candle here. We can see we then use this green candle as another order block here with a gap, and then we see we formed it here. So if we draw a range, we can see it's same concept here. So we had, we formed resistance on the way downwards. So we formed resistance in this one, used it on this candle, formed resistance here, resistance on both of these. until we eventually just continue downwards. So it's the same thing here. This was the process of the reversal, coming from a position up here to position down below this 2187 or 2178. No, 2187, yeah, range. So there you go. Okay, that was a long, old explanation for something I didn't really need to do, but there you go. Let me put this back so we can actually just see it normally now. I can't click it for some reason. There we go. Trying to make sure we're on the right area. So same thing here. Let's go back to the 4 hour on here. That's the reason. So now we can translate to what we have here. So people can all be on the same page. Same concept here. You know, we have this same line, same high, same process, all the same thing. But now we just have it here. So we've come down, we've printed past it here, right? And then we've come upwards, and now we've used this high as resistance, especially here. Obviously, we had different periods. For example, we had this wick, small body. This is a rejection block. So if we draw this out, we can see this whole area was a rejection block. We can see we saw resistance at this midpoint. We saw resistance at the high. We had resistance everywhere. On the 1 hour, though, like I said, we're on the 4 hour, but a lot of this TA is on the 1 hour. We have this red area. We have this grey one as well. These are things of the 1 hour. The 1 hour, let's see if I go to the 1 hour, I have to zoom out, and you can't really see much, so I'm just going to do it on the 4 hour. But we have these ranges, we have a lot of resistance. So the main concept is, wherever the ins and outs may be, is we've printed past the extension, we've come upwards into resistance, and now we're coming down again, right? So this is important, and this is important for a few reasons. This obviously means we have full allowance to come even lower, way past even this low, you know, towards 1680, 1540. You know, we have all these ways down, for example. These are very, very bad. And we're doing very well in terms of doing that. We have this grey area. Obviously, we had the top end resistance. We had the grey area with the grey area again, mainly because of this gap here. So we have plenty of resistance, and we're continuing downwards. Especially here, we are eventually printing past this low. Now, you know, we had a main high, a main low, a lower high. We haven't quite had that lower low. So this has been quite a bit of a potential area where, oh, okay, we haven't done a new low yet. This is still pretty good. So we do want to see a print past this low. If we don't see that and we print past 2039, then it's pretty good. Now, saying that, this is why I was trying to point that out, because what's our concept across the board? Bitcoin. We want to go to 80,900, 81k. Where do we want to go to Ethereum? You know, we want to go towards at least into 2394, maybe even 2634. But we have valid reason at least at 240 or 2604. Now, the importance of this is, you know, we can still come as high as 2421 and print, even come up to 2558. For example, we print, we print at 2425, wick up to 25. So, for example, we have these prints, and then we have the wick, let's say. So this is these two things are separate. So this is the wick. We can come as high as 2590. We can wick up and come down again. It depends on the velocity and how we do these moves. You know, all the same concept here. You know, we printed here, but we wicked to here. You know, this is a 4.69 move down, right? So from here, it's 5%. Similar story here. So we can have these big wicks which come into this smaller gap on the daily, which is actually very valid, because this is a rejection block, order block, fair value gap. Same we have here, rejection, order, fair value gap, right? So this is the same concept. You know, we have the rejection block, order block, fair value gap, right? So this area is where they should spawn, which obviously we can see is one there. So at least into 2478, for example. So relative to Bitcoin, you know, 81k, 2478. You know, Ethereum, we have these lines here. This is going to be a very interesting area for me. Now we can still come up to this area and do so. So like I said, even though we haven't reversed yet on the daily, we haven't printed past that main low, we haven't continued downwards, we can come as high as 2423 and be perfectly fine in this range. You know, we've come down, found resistance here, came upwards, printed, and then came down one more time. You know, so we've had this massive expansion downwards. We've had that move upwards and come down, which has allowed us to come into this next range, you know, and then this allows us to have, equilibrium at 116, 1290 here, which allows us to come into all these different prices on the way downwards. So, yeah, even though I'm still negative, I do want to see that positivity. And this is the reason why I have it. We haven't printed that low yet. Even if we do print that low, we still have validity to come upwards for that retracement on the higher time frames to this 2494 area before we go back down again for things. I do think things might go back down again. It's not very positive, but I think is potential for that. I should probably look at the chat in a second now that I've finished Ethereum. I will open Solana up. I'll just move things. Whoops. Open Solana up. Now with Solana, it's gonna be a bit difficult because I have to use a different range. And it glitches. We had this last stream. It glitches on the daily. I don't know why. So yeah, I haven't fixed it, and that's just not right. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So let me read the chat because it's been a bit. Apologies for the glitches there. Very much chat. Influencers have zero say in the price of multi-billion-dollar projects. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know. What's your insight in Bitcoin market cycle? I'm long-term negative, I suppose. Short-term in terms of kind of nowish, I do think we can see higher. I do think we can see a lot more than where we are. At least within 80k, let's say. I do definitely think there could be potential for a retracement back upwards. If we don't see it, it's going to be a pretty strange. We haven't really seen that much of a retracement, and pretty much every time we've gone down, to what extent we've gone up, LC is arguable. Sticks. It's apples oranges between different people. Again, it depends on what sort of TA methods people look at. But we've at least, for example, when we came from the max high all the way down to 89, whatever the exact price was, I can't remember, 90k, whatever it was. We came upwards quite a bit, 98k, and then came down. So we had that recovery. Whether it be the exact price I wanted or whether it be the exact price people wanted, whatever, we had that recovery. Same story here. We've come from 89k all the way down 60k or whatever the exact price move. Or in relative to the one we have right now, I think the scale was somewhat like... yeah, it was within 89-ish k, because that's where the midpoint was. Is about 80k. So it's about 90k, 89k, coming down to about 60k. That kind of whole move. We haven't had the recovery yet, so I do expect it. It's normal price action, especially in a downtrend. We have these lower highs and lower lows. This is just normal price action, right? So we want to see that move, and that's just what I'm expecting on. When you stream with Yikes, I believe it's sometime in March. Yeah, 7th of March. Yeah, that'd be very good. That'd be very, very good. Unemployment claims actual 206 forecast. Yeah, I remember saw this data a bit ago. That was pretty good. That was very, very nice to see. Even though it didn't really change much. And this is the thing. It's like sometimes things outside, especially NFP data. That's kind of the big thing. But that's kind of intraday. Like intraday. NFP is obviously very, very, very important. Or I mean, again, I'm sure people trade without it, or I'm sure people trade regardless of if the data comes out on that day or not. But I'm pretty sure there's not really been too much data which has ever really had that sort of long-term effect on a price action, which is fine. I mean, that's not what it's there for. Data comes out every month. So again, unemployment claims. It's something to read if you care that you're trading on a lower time frame and you're trading on the intraday. Alton 2028, yeah. Yikes. Yeah, I think same market will fall too much these years. Yeah. What's a possible low for you in terms of Bitcoin? I actually should probably look at. What I'll do? I'll continue with Solana and whatnot. I've got about 12 minutes. I'm gonna go through everything right now. We had that 48k low, which is just a very, very, very a low hanging fruit, a very low hanging fruit to be fair. It's low hanging fruit. But what I'll do, I'll just skim over Solana. It's the same story every time. Skim over Syrup. It's the same story. Look at Wallet Finance because there's some new price action, and then we can look at the low because it's a good conversation. I haven't actually looked at it. yeah, I'm just gonna really speed through this. I'm gonna stay on the weekly because if I go to the daily, you might know. Oh, okay, no, that works. All right. I think it's the 81 price. The 81 price doesn't work. If I go to 81, it breaks. So we don't want to do that. I can't bother. I'm just gonna leave it on this range. All right. Stop arguing with me. All right. I can feel the. Oh well, why don't you go to the 81? Shush. All right. Blue area support, whatever. Grey area above. We came from this low again. Expansion and whatnot. Weekly expansion. Come back upwards. Resistance from this weekly resistance or was support 106 to 119. We have this this gap, which I believe if we were to be allowed to go on the lower range, we would probably see this is a liquidity void gap at about 111. So I do want to come up to at least above $100. 106 would probably be a nice price to come up to. In terms of mitigation block, the low is at least at 117. So I do expect a range within this gap, 105 to 117. In terms of a daily, it starts at about 111. Yeah, that's pretty much it, really. Again, we probably have something below us on Solana. Support resistance stuff. We had a gap here, I suppose. We had a little gap which we had difficulty at, which you can see, actually, with a gap here. We had this obviously major low. We've actually come upwards, had a higher low, and then we've printed higher, which is actually very good news. So we have kind of this, liquidity void here, which if we draw this out, we can see we were using, and now we've stopped using. We haven't printed yet, so maybe we can have a little bit of a boom, 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 and then we print higher, and then we come upwards, and then we rip, and then we come up to here, and then we come all the way down again, whatever. It's just the same thing over and over again. I've spent way too long on Bitcoin, Ethereum, and again, it's just yielded the same outcome. I've already covered these coins last stream. They're saying the same thing. Same thing with Solana. Let's just go Syrup. Syrup as well. It's the same thing. Very messy chart. Apologize. Finally, sub the lows. I was waiting. I've been waiting for this for ages. And everyone was like, it's not going to come to 22 cents. Look at the chart. Look at the chart. I actually don't know what range this coin uses. I'm just going to have to guess. Sometimes I can do the math. Sometimes I just guess. Okay, cool. What about this? Wait, do we have a shift or anything like that? We don't, do we? No, we don't. Perfect. Well, that low's actually at 21.9. I don't think I've ever looked at these ranges here. Interesting. So, yeah, you can see here. We have ordered block range. We have the order block. Pretty good. So, yeah, 22. That's the price. That's what I've been talking about. Do I want to talk more about this? Probably not, because I've got the other coins to cover. This is the main low, right? So this is the main low. This is the weekly. What we've been looking at, and we've been looking at this for so long. I've been looking at this coin since I was looking at it here probably when we even did that max high. We were looking at it over here at least. Or maybe a bit after, I can't remember actually. It was at least within middle of last year. It's been so long. I've just been waiting for this coin to move all the way down. But finally, hitting into the area, which I think we've come to again, considering how negative the market could continue to be. Do we go lower? Do we go even lower than where we are? Do we go to 18.8 cents? Who knows? Who knows? But all I know is we have, old high to low. Massive move upwards, clearly we're in an uptrend here, massive move upwards, retrace, we're going to have a higher low somewhere, and then we're going to want to, at least target to try to get above 67.8 cents. Whether that be we miss it and fall short, or we don't, obviously, it's its own story to be told itself, or whatever. So Syrup, which coin? Yeah, I should probably say, this is Syrup. There's nowhere on the screen which says this coin, is there? I should probably do this. I don't know how ugly that is, though. It's really ugly, actually. I don't like that. I should probably say what the coin is, because I've just realised there's no indicator on the screen. Yeah, so it's Syrup. This is Syrup USDT. So yeah, it's the second last one on the chart before Voltage Finance. And speaking of Voltage Finance, the smoothest segue ever told in crypto history. Let's go to Voltage Finance, actually. Financial. Because again, this is dud. I'm sick of talking Oh no, I like looking at syrup. I like looking at every stream. I like coming back to it to look at how we're doing. But I'm sick of talking about it because it's the same thing over and over again. And it's just, I just want. There you go. We have this gap. We have the order block. We're coming into it. I think it's maybe about 22 cents. Even if we did the expanded range, it's still about 22 cents. The expanded range would be about 21.5 cents. So again, it's this 21.5 cents. Anywhere here, you know, not financial advice to buy this, but if you were me and you were looking at this chart, and you didn't already have syrup and weren't waiting for it to go back up to sell it, you would be going, huh, this might be a good time to buy, maybe. I mean, you know, it's gone pretty low. I mean, I'm very positive on the product. I mean, if you don't know what syrup is, then go watch one of our streams where we do the quiz night or any of the other videos. Go find out what syrup is. But, you know, I think of any project, well, not any project, but of a lot of projects I know about, this is one of them. This is it's not going to disappear out of nowhere. It's got history to it, and it's got actual numbers. But let's, speed it up a bit. This one I think's on the 3, so let's just do the 3 quickly. I don't know if it's on the 3, actually. It's not on the 3. Maybe it's 27. I can never remember sometimes with these numbers. It's not 27. It's not. How is it not 27? Goodness me. I don't think it's that one. I really have no idea. I did the math of this and now I've forgotten. I've completely forgotten it. Oh, I remember now. It was half. It was a half. There we go. No, I think I'm one range down. I think it's 79. This might be it, you know. This might be it. I'm gonna do it. Okay, I'm gonna do it half up instead because then we can have this one. Here we go. This is what. Here we go. This is it. I couldn't remember what the range was. I'm here now. This is perfect. This was actually when I opened this up just for my stream. I opened up. Well, it's financial. I opened up the right range, and I thought, wow, this is a really good chart. This is a really good. This is a really good. Not advertisement. No, not advertisement. This is a really good example of what a good dealing range is on a chart. It's this right here. This is just smooth. It's beautiful. It just functions. We have the prints at the highs. Let me hide this quickly. We have the prints at the highs beautifully. We have the extension line being wicked to beautifully. We have these resistances being used beautifully. We have the equilibrium being used up and down beautifully here. We have these midpoints of the constant encroachment of these midpoints being used beautifully here. We have these gaps being used beautifully. We come down, we have the extension line being printed out beautifully. We've printed down below it one time here. Oh, okay, on the 4 hour it's a bit different. We've printed below it here on the daily, and we've come upwards. And we're at the resistance of this gap. And where's this gap? It is within the fair value gap range. It's even within the liquidity void range, which what I probably should do then is do this. Even though it's not quite beautiful. But you can see, there you go, at that midpoint of this liquidity void. It's all very beautiful. It really is all very beautiful. So what my kind of assumptions were on this coin was, okay, so there's a difference again. What's the difference between this, if we look, this area here and this look very similar. We're at this top end, we're at the bottom end. These areas are very, very similar. But what's the key difference? What's the difference between this coin at the high and this coin at the low? One thing. This is the high. This is the. There we go. This is the high. This is the extension line, right? And what do you remember me telling you? If you obviously weren't here, I'm gonna go for it quickly because again, I've only got a few minutes on the stream left. The high is the resistance. We have the rejection blocks and the resistance, whatever. But the main thing is the extension line doesn't get printed past and uses resistance and whatnot and all these sorts of things. This function is what deems whether we are going to expand upwards or stay in the same range, or if we now segue down here, what deems if we're staying in the top range or not. Now, importance here, we have a lot of numbers. Let me just. I'm bringing this back. I'm bringing this back to where it was. Okay, we have a lot of input. This is probably the most beautiful price action I have seen on a coin in a long time, and I'm going to go through it. Okay, I'm going to go through why I think this is some of the most beautiful price action. We have so many things to go through here. we have the gap, obviously, right? Now, not only do we wick to the top tick of this gap, pretty much on the dot, maybe 0.0001 penny off, we fill the entire area, right? We have also fully utilized the high and the rejection block on the extension line beautifully in this range multiple times. But importantly, we have printed past the extension line, which is, again, it's not, like I said, when I look for it, it's more of it's case by case, obviously, but it's more of okay, I would want to see it print, I would want to see it, do our thing, print past it, use this as resistance and come down again. That's what I want to see. Or print past it, use the resistance, continue downwards. Or, better yet for Ethereum, just continue right back down. Just, rip through it. So this is indicating, okay, we have printed past the extension line. This could be a sign that, and like I said with Ethereum, this is exactly what I said with Ethereum, right? I said we can go as high as printing to the extension line on the other end and then wick above it and still go down. And that's exactly what we have right here. We've printed past this extension line, right? We've come all the way up to pretty much as high as this other extension line, which then would put us back up into the other range, right? We've filled this gap, and now we've kind of had this kind of rejection block bounce off, and now we're printing negative, right? So this is perfect. This is perfect for us to kind of come downwards, right? And come lower, which is obviously not a great sign for people who care about wanting this coin to go upwards. But look at it, we have this line here at 113. But what I'm going to say is, right, on the weekly we haven't printed past it. Now I'm not saying the weekly we have to print past it, but it's kind of here and there. Now if we go at a range higher for the weekly time frame, right, you can see what we're doing and where we are. Now, we don't really have much in particular on the high end. Maybe we have this 1859 line here. We have fair value gap range here. We can see we've been cradled, we've been caressed by the beauty of this range here. You can see we've been caressed, woof, like that, caressed it. So on the weekly, we're doing okay. Now, I'll say why. So, for example, we formed a rejection block here. You can see we kind of used it twice here. Anyways, the main thing, though, I am still super negative on World Financial. Not super negative in the sense that I think right now in this very moment we're going to dump. Now, I know you just saw me say all those things about us being in the lower range and going down again. But I'm going to kind of back up why I'm negative. And back up, if I'm wrong, and we go up even higher, like towards 15 cent, I'm going to back up why. Because we have... apologies for this atrocity on the screen. Because we have 15 cent, which is exactly the price I was talking about. 15 cent is my next price. Because equilibrium for the range down, because again, what do we have? We have, ignoring this absolutely dud candle, I always ignore the first candle of a new coin, of a new listing, or of a new chart for a coin. I always ignore the first candle because it's just this mess, right? But looking at the actual price action, we have, this move upwards. We have this kind of uptrend. We've printed through this major low, and now we're coming back upwards for this retracement. We're gonna see it if we have a normal trend. Because again, look, even if we included this, we have a high, we have a low, we have a lower high, we have a lower low. We're in a downtrend. I don't care what you want to say. Weekly, we are in downtrend territory. Now, what we technically want to see is us coming past 14.34. Now, I talked about this in my World Liberty Financial stream, I believe, or when I looked at the World Liberty Financial chart last time. I talked about this price. I talked about us coming to 15 cents. So, even though I kind of just baited you all by saying, oh, yeah, well, we're below the range, we're going to go down, blah, blah, blah. Technically, what we would want to actually see is us come up a bit more, because of this retracement on the weekly to see this. Now, I say this, last time I talked about this on a high scale, we didn't necessarily hit it on Bitcoin. So, what could happen, and we've seen this before, is we have a high to a low, we have a high, we have another low, and all you have to do is expand this low until you find that low. You know what I mean? And then you have this massive expansion back upwards. So that's a technicality which we could maybe gamble on, which is like, okay, cool. Technically, we could continue to go lower before we go higher, where within this lower range, we, if I can get it up, on this lower range where we print past all this, malarkey, we come down to, I've just undone it. Let's say we come to 8, let's say 8.5 because of this weekly range. We come down to the extension line and then we come upwards again because technically, even though we have another low, we still want that retracement. We come to the extension line. We haven't printed past the extension line, so we're still in the higher range, which is all this. We then come up to 15 cent and go down again. So what I would say, there's a few technicalities on where the low's going to be, but if we see 15 cent, I'm pretty positive that we're probably going to go lower from there. That's what I'll say. That's what I'll leave off with Volatile Financial. That's my Get Out Gel free card. That's my. I don't quite. There's two things which could happen here. I don't want to go. Oh, I don't know what's happening. Let's just move on. That's what I'm going to say. I'm going to give myself a little Get Out Gel free card. If we go to 15 cent, I think we'll go down. There you go. Bitcoin max low. Let's see. Before we end the stream, really quickly, just a quick glance, because I know that was a question, or it was something which I think is a good thing to ask, actually. So, there's a few prices on the way down. There's obviously this main low at 48.5. We've got 52 for the midpoint of this monthly support. We had a previous monthly support here, which you can see we kind of used in this range, which obviously had this gap as well. It's about 52-ish, give or take. So that's there, I suppose. But I think the main one is, if we were to wick past 48.6, that's very strong. Trade or not? Is this if I'm trading this stream or not? Well, I'm about to end the stream. In terms of if you should take a trade on Volatile Financial, that's obviously your prerogative. In terms of, do you want me to tell you what trade to take? I'm not going to do that because it's not financial advice. There you go. All I'm going to know. Yeah, wants to know about Liberty Financial. Yeah, well, that's my opinion was 15 cent. If we go to 15 cent, we go down for sure. Well, not financial advice, not for sure. And we can go as low as 8.5 cent before we get to 15 cent. I just think wherever this low is going to be, because again we haven't reversed yet, wherever this low is exactly going to be, I do want to see that 15 cent before we go down again. So that's kind of my for surety. I'd rather take a for surety than a not for surety. Which is, these words don't make sense. Okay, let's just go to a really high range and just give some prices. I did this last time for a high back up here. I think I had I had 125 as a price. I remember actually, really explicitly. Anyways, so we have some of these. Oh, okay. So we do have something very interesting, which is we have this higher time frame range. We have this extension line, which we printed at this purple line. We haven't printed lower. This is actually, this area we're in right now is actually a way bigger turning point than I thought. This is actually really important from the wider range perspective, because what do we see with these extension lines? Even if we just barely print past it, what do we see with Volatile Financial? We printed past it and then we absolutely rip back upwards. Not saying we get to here, for sure. But we came back upwards, right? So, if we see this print past here in 3 days and 10 hours, we continue to stay below the extension line. We retrace back up to see resistance at 88 to 83. I do want to see lower. Where do we have? 58. We're going to have 47, let's say, for sure. Now, I'm not saying we have equilibrium at minus $66 or anything or zero, but in terms of this max range, because a lot of this range, it's more about looking at each line, because you can see, look, resistance at the high, support-ish kind of at the low. It's not exactly the right, but whatever. Resistance at the high, support low. This really wasn't anything, to be fair. Oh no. But this is the midpoint of this line. You can see this black dotted line. Resistance there, support the black dotted line, came to the low, black dotted line, support resistance, came to the high, black dotted line, came to the high again. So we have each and every one of these lines is a support-ish resistance area. So like I said earlier, where you can still just use these lines as support resistance, you just have to go to the highest range, or the highest range you could possibly use, really, respectively. So what that means is, okay, cool. Let's even go to this most recent price action. What do we have? Well, we have kind of resistance at the high, support at the low. We kind of danced in between this high. We have resistance at the high here. Let's imagine the black dotted line. We have that about there. Resistance at the high. midpoint of the area. We have the high area. We didn't quite get to this dotted line, to be fair. I won't lie, but we had this high. We have this low here. We have the low here again. What do we have? We kind of came as low towards this low. We came to the high of the low here. We've come all the way down towards extension line. So it's like, you know, if we do have this, where are we going to see? 83,276 and then 58 and then 47, let's say. That, you know, that's like the raw, like super wide stuff, right? That's like, okay, if we were to just come to these lines, I'm not saying we will, this is really rough technical analysis here. It would be, oh yeah, we've come towards about 58-ish. We're gonna go up. This is like vibe analysis. Like we're gonna come to around about 58, and then come to around about 83, and then around about 47. There you go. But there you go. That's it. Right, that's my long term. 48 is definitely going to be one of them, especially coming past this major low. That's a deep low. If we are continuing this downtrend, which again we're pretty negative, I think we're going to see this continue downwards. So we'll see. But there you go. There you go. That's like rough prices. But I think even if we weren't using these lines, I'd definitely be focusing on somewhere back here. It's definitely somewhere within one of these lines. We could reutilize somewhat of this gap, which is within about 59.5, midpoint about 55.8. So I would be probably talking about some of these lines. But if we just look at using these random ranges, it's probably just going to be those sorts of lines. But it's the same concept. We have an extension line on this wider range here, which is interesting. And then from there, if we were to print past this and use it, like we've seen with Relative Financial, like we've seen with Ethereum, and we've seen with pretty much every other coin which has this sort of utilization. I mean, it's the same thing. Okay, well, I don't know where the low is. Okay, I'm too wide of a range to look at it. I can't bother to go down, but it's the same concept, you know. So this is it really. Yeah, there you go. So thank you for watching. I do need to end it because I have kept on talking. It is now 3:10, which is about 10 minutes over when I wanted to end. So I think it's been a decent stream. So thank you all of you for joining. Appreciate you all. I actually do see Kishan in the chat on YouTube, so thank you for joining. Thank you all of you for being in the Square stream. Itachi, thank you to you. Thank you for joining the stream. Appreciate it. I'm not going to co-host because I'm literally about to go, but I will be back on Saturday for my next stream. Hopefully something's happened by then. Again, sometimes I'm on, sometimes I'm off. As we saw with, last week, I wasn't really on the Monday or the Saturday because nothing was really happening at all. And as we've seen, there is still yet to happen. Stuff is yet to happen. It's still not happening. So we just have to wait. So until then, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully by Saturday, we'll have something happen and we'll try and cover it on the stream. So other than that, we'll see you guys in the next stream. See you guys on Telegram. Thank you so much, all of you. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Go subscribe to the Red platform where there's some videos if you want to. Telegram might be in somewhat of a description. I'm yapping. I'm gonna leave you guys. Okay, have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of the week until Saturday. If I do see you again, if you do join the next stream, thank you. Goodbye.